Love is the answer. Love is the way. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Love is the way. Joy is the answer. Joy is the answer. Joy is the way. Joy is the answer. Joy is the answer. Joy is the way. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Love is the way. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Love is the way.
Thank you all. Please be seated. I am looking around. I don't see anybody that's here for the first time. So, but we welcome all of you regulars that are here, and we're glad everybody's here today. Inside your bulletin, you will find a prayer request form for any prayer request. You can drop them in the offering basket later. The prayer box is always in the back. You can put them in there, and when somebody brings it to the front, there's generally time for you to drop it in while it's on its way up here. So remember that. We know that group prayer is very powerful. The prayers are prayed for by our own prayer team for a week, and they are also sent to the community where they are prayed over for 30 days. So now the announcements. We do still have paper cards on the back. They're the March-April. You're welcome to take that. There's no charge. We're always collecting dry goods and toiletries and all that. We distribute them to various groups, usually family services in Bernie, and we're always happy for your donations. Please join us for lunch today. We're going to Bella Sera. I think I have everybody's name down that is going. And if Teresa is going, that will make 12 of us today. So, let's see. If you are a member and did not receive a copy of our membership manual, Kathy Brown, hold up your hand, is here today. She did a fantastic job. So if you are a member and you are not in there and would like to be, please talk to Kathy and she'll get it taken care of. Our Sunday morning book discussion is absolutely wonderful. We've got a full house for it, and it's conversations between Wayne Dyer asking questions and Esther as Abraham answering them, and it's extremely interesting. We have a lot of discussion. You can join at any time because it doesn't matter where you start in the book. It's all wonderful.
And we have coffee.
And we have coffee, and we have a Keurig that I think Marlon's Brown's donated.
No,
and
that was
hot water for
Thurman's.
tea.
Thurman's.
Thermos, okay. If you are not getting our weekly emails, I know that there are some carriers out here like Marty's HCTC that will absolutely not allow eye contact to come through. Then you have to get another address to get them. But if you're not getting them for any reason, number one, check your spam, because every once in a while they adjust the filters and things you weren't getting are all of a sudden going into spam. But also too, you can leave your name and email again, and Patricia will check to make sure that you're in there and that she's got the proper email without any typos in it. We have a lot of ongoing activities via Zoom. They are listed in your order of service, and you can take that insert out when you leave. In fact, we have one more Sunday in March.
Yeah, next Sunday.
So leave your jackets one more time, and then next Sunday you can take the jackets as well as the inserts if you want. Otherwise, we use the jackets over and over. The things going on Zoom is a book study, Jesus, My Autobiography, Monday evening, Course in Miracles Wednesday evening, Pathlighters on Thursday evening. And you can also find links to our Facebook page, unityofbernie.org. So that is the announcements. And let's see, we're now going to have the daily word. Rick, come on up.
Morning, everyone. It is my privilege to read you the daily word, and it's Palm Sunday, which is a special Sunday, as you all know. And the candle is lit, the Christ candle, and we're good to go. The Christ within protects and clears my way. As I enter Holy Week, I reflect on Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem and how the multitudes greeted him, shouting, "Hosanna, blessed it is the one who comes in the name of the Lord." Like so many, I have used the sacred time of Lent to cleanse my soul of beliefs and habits which no longer serve me. I have felt blessed as I have opened my heart to the healing, cleansing waters of spirit. Now I feel really ready to welcome greater awareness of the Christ within me. Every part of me quivers with eager anticipation. The world seems fresh, and I feel newly alive. I behold the Christ in me and all the others. With joy I celebrate. With gratitude I humbly bless the Christ in me and everyone. And from Matthew 21:9, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. And the title for today is "The Christ Within Protects and Clears My Way." Thank you. Palm Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Whoops, I made it.
One more time.
All right, please stand. We're going to have the miracle moment. And we can say that together.
When for a purpose I have prayed and prayed and prayed, until my words seem worn and bare with arduous use, and I have knocked and asked and knocked and asked again, and all my fervor and persistence brought no hope, I pause to give my weary brain a rest, and cease my anxious human cry. In that still moment, after self had tried and failed, there came a glorious vision of God's power, and lo, my prayers were answered in that hour.
Remain standing. We'll have our celebration song, "Open Mine Eyes That I May See."
Open my eyes that I may see, glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands a wonderful key, thou shalt ungrasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my ears that I may hear voices of truth thou sendest near. And while the wave doth fall on my ear, everything false will disappear. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my ears, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my mouth and let me bear gladly the warm truth everywhere. Open my heart and let me prepare love with my children, God's to share. Silently unity of learning, desire, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people.
Thank you. Now you can be seated, and I'm going to turn this over to Reverend Jay for the remainder of the service.
Good morning and welcome. Good morning to those of you who are tuning in online. We're doing a little different this morning because when I welcomed you before, you can't hear me because all of these joyous folks are talking and getting ready to share in the love that the house that love built. So I'm going to give you the welcome right now. I'm so glad you tuned in. I know many of you do this weekly, and I hope it's a blessing to you today. You're amidst people that love. And so whatever you may bring today with you, whatever may be hurting, whatever may be things you want to praise, you want more of, tune in for this next hour. There'll be something for each one of you. Welcome again. And welcome to you all. As you all know, we are a praying church. We believe that prayer has power. And we know that because when we come together in a united way, it only amplifies the vibrations that we send up, the loving, wonderful vibrations from our heart, the things that we feel we just can't keep in anymore. That's what prayer should be. Those things are just waiting to get out. Whatever it may be that could be bothering you, could be something that you're celebrating, but it's just something you want to share, that you want divinity to know you're blessed or you want a blessing. This morning, I see each one of you as blessed, and I see each one of you as fulfilled and happy and harmonious. If it isn't that way, claim it now. Because I'm either lying or I'm calling it by faith. And so right now, I'll try to say I'm calling it by faith because I don't try lying. So I'm calling it by faith that everyone here is open, ready, and receptive to receive their good. At this time, we have in the middle of our bulletins a prayer request slip that you can fill out if you haven't yet. It's sent to Silent Unity where it's prayed over for 30 days. And in this time, you're able to fill out any request you have. I believe in making time for that. If I'm too busy pushing this service ahead not to allow prayer to be written, I'm doing something wrong. So take the time you need, within reason, and put it in the box that comes forward, and we're going to pray for it. Pray for you and what your request right now. So is anybody that has anything they need to slip in that box?
We got a healthy group.
No?
It's already been voted.
Thank you. Streams of healing consciousness now focus on the requests that are here in this box. We participate in the answer to these prayers by upholding good is present. Good is omnipresent. It's with us right now. Our loving infinite presence. We celebrate goodness. We celebrate the fact that you're the foundation stone of our very existence, and that what is inside us is greater than anything that we have to meet in this world. And those who have requests that range from the difficult and the heartbreaking and the heart-wrenching to those that are celebratory and full of joy and all those in between, we know you are present and appear as is needed to these individuals in their lives. You are the health to those needing health. You are wealth to those experiencing lack. You are harmony to those who feel disharmony. You are peace to those who feel guilt. You are everything to those who feel like they're not anything in particular. You are the very essence in which we live and move and have our being. We bless with our own prayers, these prayers, We see each person surrounded by wonderful light-filled beings, and know that perfect outworking of divine will is being done right now in the lives of each one of these people who have requests that are represented in this box. Thank you for the gift of being able to come before your presence and declare our oneness with you. Our oneness not only with you, but with the infinite. There's nothing that we have to go back and check on or go forward and run ahead and check on. We simply relax and surrender into your divine will, knowing it is good. And in the silence of our being right now, we declare this is absolutely so. And so it is. Amen.
Let's go for a ride. Hands free. That's me actually playing right there. Anyway, I've got a brand new song which I'm just now writing still. And you guys can help me write it. You write, send me suggestions, ERMUZIK@mac.com. I have those viewed up there too. Anyway, this is a song that we have to deal with a lot of, I know me anyway, over-encompassing, consumed with, overwhelmed by all the big stuff in the world right now. There's a lot going on, wars, trying to keep our perspective, political strife, and sometimes you gotta just like reel it in and look at all the little things in the moment and see what you can garner from that. And that actually helps you see it all in encompassing love. Hopefully that'll do it. This is also a story song, which I don't write a lot of story songs, and it's not a lot of old, but it makes sense. Driving on the road I didn't know. I looked to my left and saw a long on in a baseball field, and it made me laugh as I grabbed the wheel. I said, that's gotta mean something. It makes me grateful for all the little things. And that bull will be back later. For the first time, yeah, all the little things that can touch your life and make you sing, don't let them pass you by. This got a little slower than that. Doesn't mean that you should look aside when injustice has been done and how things are run. Standing up for what's right, seeks the fire for peace and love. Look at the little things can change your point of view. All the little the serious issues of trust, and not forget those who really need us. Were you downwind from your test? Let's not be downwind from that pull. Maybe you find the answer in all the little things that you may have missed when you came upon this for the first time. All the little things that can touch your life and make
did, you know?
You gotta play right the first time.
Yeah,
Like
I
for the
believe
first
it.
time.
Right.
In the midst of the children, the Lord set me free. It doesn't take everything, it can be just two or three, and I feel the same sweet spirit I felt all time before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. There's a holy hush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. There's a holy hush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
And in this special, precious time, the time that we take a deep breath and allow those things that have clouded our minds, things that we've collected through the week that we may not feel that we prayed up enough. We may feel like there's some things that are just hanging around the corners of our mind that we want to have peace about. This is the time we do it because we're in the presence of people as well. And if you're tuning in online right now, obviously you are, if you're seeing this, you're seeing the consciousness of the group, and I invite you to join this with your own intention. The consciousness of the group that holds for themselves the best and the highest as they come in prayer. As we all come in prayer. Right now, we relax into our being. We feel that our feet are flat on this floor. Our palms are in our laps, and they're upraised, signifying the willingness to release and the willingness to receive. Both are important. We willingly release those things that have held us back. We become aware of them right now. Sometimes they're in our minds as little thoughts that say, I sound like this. And sometimes it's a general attitude. But we know we'd be better off without it. We just don't know how to lose it. And we lose it by releasing it into the warmth and the glow and the love of God. So right now, in this act of release, we know that there is room now for replacement of love, thought, goodwill, the pure, the powerful, the positive. We make room for prosperity, abundance, and riches, loving, caring, and sharing. Our minds are fertile ground. We have fertile soil that we allow to be disrupted by the love that we are. It disrupts the status quo and it brings a fresh newness, a vibrancy to our lives and to our thoughts. So we bathe in that right now. This is our time to reset, to let go. And the things that we don't understand, that sometimes repeat in our minds, we release those in the hands of Spirit that knows everything about how to handle our lives. In this space where we're one, we know what we want for ourselves, the feelings that we want for ourselves, we want for others. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. And you behold the Christ, and I behold the Christ in me as newness of life. It feels good to release, to let go, to allow a higher vibrancy and frequency of thoughts to occupy our minds. This is a time, this is the time for reset. This is a time for new thoughts and ideations to come forward, watered by the Spirit of God's love, who promises us the life more abundant, and that presence is with us even into the end of the world. There's a certain security in that, and we love that too. In this place, we know divine love has always met our needs and always will. And though we may not understand everything that crosses our path, and everyone who crosses our path, we are given the divine sense of intuition. We make our lives one thought at a time. And through our intuition, we know what is right for us, we know what to release, and we know how to stand in the truth of our being. We are healed right now. We are comforted right now. We are made well by the renewing of our mind at this time. And most importantly, the love that goes from us that we feel, we bask in that. Love sets everything straight. The living, loving presence of the eternal is with us now. For those who hurt in this moment, we declare healing. Any lack wisdom, it is given from the fount of every blessing. Whatever the need, it is supplied. We're willing, and we're open, and we receive, and we're made new. And we're abundantly thankful. And that gratitude multiplies now as we face this next week in courage, confidence, forgiveness, and love. We declare this is so right now. And so it is. Thank you, David. And good morning again.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
I want to talk this morning about the idea of taking just a moment. This is Palm Sunday, and we know pretty much what this means. This was the Sunday that Jesus rode triumphantly on the back of a donkey, and palms were waved at him, and they shouted, "Hosanna in the highest, welcome the King, the one who is the promise, the one whom we gladly worship. And this is the week that we celebrate, called Holy Week, that really the end of Jesus' earthly ministry was really very close, because very quickly we go into the crucifixion. The idea that all that began with such promise seemed to end in such as an abject failure from the world's point of view. But it ain't necessarily so. And with matters of the Spirit, we know it always isn't necessarily so, because we humans have eyes that see, but sometimes see not. We see what we want to see in a lot of times. We are wired to perceive certain things just by the fact of what we've gone through in our past. If we get 7 or 8 people together that seeing the same thing, they can all have different ideas about what they've seen. But what we know is the love that was present where the palms were being waved was just as real as the love that was present the moment after the crucifixion. Love is undergirding this whole thing. Notice what happens. Human beings get in there with their ideas of praise and damnation and really gum up the works. And then we blame the presence for it. The presence is that still small voice that if we listen to, we generally stay out of trouble. But when our egos get involved and we just have to express this opinion about that, that seems to be the time, and you get enough people doing that, then you could get things rolling out of control real quick. That's why it's so important for each of us to mind our business. It's been said, each person has a kingdom they must rule, and it's between their 2 ears. And this morning, I would like to go back for a while. You may wonder what this has to do with Palm Sunday, but it does dovetail, I promise. It's just, I'm not a fan of personal stories a lot, and I've been told by some of my pastor friends that do the same thing I do that, you know, a little bit of telling some things that happened isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I really love to teach truth, and I think, and I hope, that my life has been a monument to truth. Where I have fallen down, I know that I'm forgiven as quickly as I recognize it. I know I was never blamed, and I know I have to remove that human sense of condemnation I have for the time that I may have fallen or not, you know, come up to the mark. But come back with me right now, if you will, to the year 1988. It was a banner year for me. At that time, I had discovered in a relationship that didn't go very well. Let's just say I was steaming from being with someone who it just seemed like we butted heads all the time. We just best to part, and I had parted. When I was walking along in the aisles of a certain bookstore, because I love poetry and novels, and I just love to read, and I noticed a book with a green cover, and it was in a dark green border which said, "You can't afford the luxury of a negative thought." And it was thick, and it was big. I mean, you know, the trade paperback was pretty big. You could hold it. I thought, I leafed through it, and I thought, this is good stuff. Because I'd already been introduced to Unity Concepts about 6 years prior, and I was into this way of thinking. I was not in ministry yet. I was not speaking at different churches yet and doing the work that I would come to do. I was simply a reader in need of a mental adjustment. And the author who wrote this book, there were 2 authors that wrote the book. John Roger, who was head of the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness in Los Angeles, California, whom I subsequently met, and Peter McWilliams, who was a poet. And I read this book, getting ahead of myself, I read this book, and I was so excited about what I was reading that I did what I usually did when something impressed me. I decided to pick up the phone and call this man. And it took me a little while to get through to the offices of Prelude Press, but when I did, I said, I want to speak to Peter McWilliams. And the girl, her name was Joy. on the line. I'll never forget. She said, so do a lot of people. And I said, but you don't understand. I really need to talk to this guy. I've read some of his poetry now because, you know, this was before the internet. And I went back up that store and there were little books of poetry he had written and stuff like that. This guy and I are too much alike. I've got to meet him. I'm going to give you his phone number and just tell him that I'd really like a call back. She said, I'm not making any promises. I said, that's all right. But I had made an invocation of my spirit that I was open and receptive to his phone call. And you know, 4 hours later, the phone rang. And it was Peter. And I said, I want you to know that you wrote a book that's just wonderful, and I'm still working through it. I said, you know, you're talking about healing with colors. You're talking about visualization. You're talking about things that everybody can relate to. These aren't high holy books. Nothing wrong with high holy books, but this is a book that anybody that works for the Baptist or the Buddhist. And he said, I like that. And he said, can I use that? I said, of course. It works for the Baptist or the Buddhist. It just did. And as I talked to him more and the conversation stretched on, I realized he wasn't trying to get off the phone real quick. I wasn't trying to get off the phone real quick. I was enjoying coming to learn more about this man from Allen Park, Michigan, who grew up a great deal like me, and we had a lot in common. And so what happened was, as time went on and I was, you know, going through how wonderful I thought this book was, and he was telling me where it came from and really what he meant for it to be, he said, you know what, you've resold me on the idea of this book. I said, what do you mean? He said, your enthusiasm makes me want to go out and buy a copy, and I got 5 of them on my desk. And I said, wow. I said, well, it's true. You have a winner here. And he said, let me ask you a question. He said, I've been thinking about this. He said, would you be willing to go to different places across the southern part of the United States and give talks about this book? And I said, how do you know that I'd be any good? This wasn't even the time that I really met Jack Boland yet, who believed in my ability to speak. And he said, just go and show the enthusiasm that you have. He said, I tell you what I'll do. He said, I'll give you a case of books, and I'll give you $100, and then you can charge what you will. And he said, put together a package and tell me what you come up with. And all of a sudden I thought, wow, rental cars, hotels, places, what am I going to do? I thought, well, first I'll go to Austin. I'm just going to put together a package, and then if they like it, I'm going to keep doing it. Long story short, it seemed to work. I went to Austin. I went to Temple. I went to Oklahoma City. I started going outside of Texas. Peter and I became friends. Eventually, he and I worked together, and eventually I adopted his mother as my own. She is now 100 years old in Algonac, Michigan. But the reason I tell you about all this is because his wonderful mother, I'm getting ahead of myself here, he passed away in the year 2000, Peter did. And he was a dear friend of mine, and I miss him very much. There was so much that he and I had in common. The thing that was a little different, he was a gay man, I was a straight man. And he liked purple and I liked red. I mean, it was just superfluous differences. We were really sort of like brothers. And so, as he passed, I became closer with his mother. And I think she adopted me sort of like a son. But I went everywhere with that book. I remember being in Indianapolis. It was so cold that my fingers stuck. The Soldiers' Sailors Monument in Indianapolis. It was 18 below. And I had to test fate and say, if I put my hand on this metal, will it really stick? It really does. And it's hard to get off. You got to have liquid to do it. So I'm going to skip those details. I did pry myself loose. The point is that and I really need to skip those details out. I got loose. His mother has, for the past year and a half, said, if anybody, and this was a New York Times best-selling book, by the way. You can't afford the book, so now your thought. Mother said, I want you to have the rights, the copyright and everything, and own this book. And if you want to rewrite it and add something to it, you will be able to, but let's make it legal. This is what I give you. This is what Peter would want. I love you, and you have the rights to it. 30-something years later, there I was, a fan of a book. I just walked into what then was called Bookstop and picked it up, and now I own the rights to a New York Times bestseller, and what am I going to do with it, and how I'm going to resurrect this for a whole generation that have probably yet to see the common sense, the wisdom, and the spirit that animates its pages. I bring this up because as we go forward into the summer and this upcoming fall, there are things that I want to do, seminars that have to do with this book, You Can't Afford the Luxury of Negative Thought, that belong here and belong for other people to come and find out just how timeless this is. And if you think that I'm going on a little long about this, you need to read it for yourself because it absolutely is practical and it is deep. You've got layers for everyone. And I don't know how anyone could walk away with a bad opinion of this book. That's how I feel about it. You may not feel that way, but that's how it worked for me. And it started me in a whole new way of making a living. Going to these places, going to these churches, I'll do a seminar for you. Well, we'd love to have you and how much you charge. And doing those little things, it was easy to get that done. The hard stuff was the traveling and getting together the words that I put around the seminars. But once I started, it wasn't that hard to do it. And from there, it's been a walk into ministry. A walk that culminated with the idea that, Jay, you're called and you need to go and do it now. And I did. And I'm so glad I did because I've been blessed every single year. Not that it's been always easy, and not that there are times that I wish I didn't have to go through, but all of them brought me to where I am right now. And I met such wonderful people doing that, and I regret not a thing. Now, what does that have to do with Palm Sunday? So here I was, whatever age I was in '88, I'm not going to mention it right now, but I was somewhere between Elton John and Air Force One, the movie. How about that?
Wow.
Somewhere around. What does that have to do with Palm Sunday? The beginning of what I thought when I taught this stuff was, look at all this, and it's just what I want. It's my heart. I'm living the dream that I had. Did it mean that there weren't going to be some folks that came at me with ideas that were different about what I should be doing, that said, well, this man McWilliams and this other man are running a cult, and you have a cult-like adoration of this? No, it's just, it works. The stuff works. There's a little pamphlet written a long time ago by R.H. Jarrett. You all may remember it. It's about 8 pages called It Works. And what is it? It's holding and visualizing your heart's desire without let up for a certain number of time. Very much like the 7-Day Meal Diet or the smaller pamphlets of Emmett Fox. The idea that what you hold in mind will reproduce outside. And if you let it go with an idea of faith, things are taken care of for you. If that time had its challenges, it sure had its rewards. Yes, I was criticized. There were times that people said, we don't need to be in this room where you're talking about a God that's way out of what I understand. This God has certain things that you do and don't do, and you, sir, meaning me, you're talking about a God that just everything's okay. Well, first of all, that's not at all what I was talking about, but really, it says God is love, and it says love allows freedom. Love is not interested in control. Love lets you make your mistakes and lets you recreate. The ability to have the grace to say, I'm an ongoing product. I'm not finished. And if I have any any argument with traditional religion, and I really don't, but if I did, it would be to place periods where people's names are, to say they're a finished product, they are condemned for what they believe, or they are out of the group. They're having these ideas that are way different than what we accept here. Allow for the idea of release of control, that the things will come to you that may not look like everybody else in your age group or your station in life, but those things are the things that bless all of us. I've often said, and my father said this, and I've said it after him, so it wasn't an original idea with me. When you see a child looking out the window, and he was for a while a classroom teacher before he was a psychologist, when you see a child looking out a window, thinking their thoughts, be careful when you disturb them. Now, there's certain things they've got to learn in school, but you don't know what they're thinking about and what it means to them. And I didn't know what I was thinking about when I was teaching this. I just knew it felt wonderful. And I learned, my spirit grew. I learned more about theology. I learned more about what was to be in my life from going out and being in those places and literally selling that book. And when my wife met me, I was right in the middle of touring with this, with Peter at that time. And I said, just hold on, hang on, and you'll love it. And I think she did. Anyway, it's been a lot of years since then. We go from 88 and count it up now. And what does it mean today? What does this mean for Palm Sunday? It means this. I've had the experience of waving a lot of palms at people. And some have been waved back at me. And sometimes I've been disappointed because the object of my affection, and I don't mean romantic, my object of my affection has some feet of clay, just like I do. There were times that I woke up and said, uh-oh, there's something I'm learning about me and I don't care for it a lot. What was it? I may have been overly critical or some other place I needed to grow. That's not important. The important thing was I listened to the promptings of Spirit. And in this intervening time, and all these years after that, I realized I've been blessed. I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. All those things. And I set an intention. And now, here it is all these years later, I own a New York Times bestseller. How about that? And I thought, the only thing to do justice by this is continue to teach it, continue to find new ways to show it to new people. You're going to wave palms at people, and they're going to wave them back to you. Not as necessarily magnificent as Jesus had, but you're going to have your own little palm party. Because as humans, we like to project. We perceive certain things about others, and then we act on that. And then sometimes the persons act back to us, and we have what we call a relationship. But if we're not grounded in the truth of our own being, grounded and know ourselves, we'll fall for the outer things. Jesus, on his way through Jerusalem, did not fall for faint praise. He had a mission. He knew what he must do. He knew his kingdom was not of this world. His kingdom was of the inner world. But he couldn't get that through a lot of the disciples' heads. He taught as no other person taught. And what was it about? Forgive 70 times 7. While you're waving those palms and singing those songs and having an orchestra or whatever, there's some simple things that I'm talking about that don't require all this as my grandmother used to say, follow. All this stuff that we do outwardly, can we remember that while we're doing that, while we're in the middle of going through what we think is so important, and we have such a serious earnestness about us, that life really is built on a few simple ideas, a few simple truths. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. What's the most important thing you can do as a believer? The first commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, body, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself On this hangs all the law and prophets. You've done that. You don't have to worry about anything. If you're loving, and you're loving what you've been through, because it brought you here. It brought you to the knowledge of what you want to partake in. But there's no use to curse that. But there's no use for me to curse any mistakes I made. They were all necessary steps to get here in front of you lovely people, doing what I love, called into a ministry that was difficult at times and challenging, oh, but so rewarding. I am rewarded every time I'm in front of you and you. Every time that I teach the truth, the poet sings. And I don't mean Peter, just him alone, teaching the truth that has been taught by the thinkers and the philosophers and those who have dedicated their lives to spiritual matters throughout hundreds of years. It's time that we take our authority back from the becloaked and bespectacled elders that we have venerated and say, I own that too. There's nothing wrong with respecting someone who talks about truth. Nothing wrong with it. But hold yourself, give yourself the credit that you have that in you too. We've had enough hero worship. We've had enough following the follower. It's time for us to be the unique, wonderful creations of spirit we were destined to be. Is that the message of the cross? No, I'm getting there. But it's on the way. But what is the message of this thing that's going to turn horrific in a very few days? What was this all about? Well, what did Jesus say? And he didn't say this, but this is the idea. You can't kill love. You can't crucify an idea. You can crucify flesh. You can crucify bone. But you can't crucify an idea whose time has come. And the idea that Jesus brought that shook the mighty world is that if you love enough, with enough intensity, that you stake your very life, that love is the answer, then your life will take off in ways that you can't see right now. My life took off ways in 1988 that I couldn't see because I loved a particular book. I was enthusiastic. I had a lot of passion, and I lived it. And I want to encourage each one of you to live that passion, whatever it looks like. And know that you're backed by the love of the universe, the love that willingly laid its life down to say you can't get rid of the stuff that I'm talking about. You can get rid of my body. You can get rid of everything maybe I've ever written, but you can't get rid of the idea, the energy that binds us together is love. We've got the strongest product, and I don't like that word, but if we're talking about the marketplace of ideas, we've got the strongest product out there. We've got love. And if you know of anything more powerful, please let me know. The only thing that can come close to that is resentment and negativity and pain. Have you seen folks that have given their lives over to that? It's so sad. It's etched in their faces. It's in the manner in which they carry themselves, they comport themselves a certain way, and you almost can see the criticism. Well, they say it so many times, but if not in their presence, you feel the criticism, the lack of love. Things wither and die without it. I'm talking about this Palm Sunday, and I'll be talking about this Easter Sunday and every other Sunday, the power of love. I invite each one of you to follow your passion with the love that is in your heart and the authenticity of who you are, and knowing that you're backed by the resolute power of this very universe. It's on your side. And that while you're waving palms at somebody, or somebody's waving them at you for whatever reason, you know that really it's just an exchange of love. Think about that. Think about how you can multiply that in your life. That's the subject for next week, and I hope you'll join us. God bless each and every one. ask you to give the very best gift of which you're able. And those of you who are tuning in online, I ask you to give the gift that when you do, you open the floodgates of the divine, who says, I will pour out a blessing on you where there's not room enough to receive it. And then another place of that scripture, it says, I will rebuke the devourer for your sake. In other words, I'll come behind you and take care of that doubt that happens after you say, did I really do the right thing in sitting there putting it in there? Yes, you're doing the right thing, because you can't outgive this universe. You can't outgood God. I ask you to give your best gift right now, because the ministries of this church and the outreach and the things we're doing is so important and so wonderful, and it touches so many. Please give the best gift of which you're able. Javier, come to the
Freely, freely I have received, freely I give. God of freedom is all that I am, all that I can receive.
Thank you. Together we say, blessing of increase, divine love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I send it forth with my blessings and my love. So it is. Together we stand and join hands as we feel comfortable in doing so. Together we say, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
I got to go do my thing.
Because your side, which occasionally getting to some of the old
You just been start waking up and saying, and I'm gonna get less ones, that's what I better do. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Mark, I'm gonna count you David, so can I get you to get my purse?
Thank you, sir.
I don't know that I maybe wrote.
It's almost got a country. Yeah, it's a story. That's good.
Yeah, we wanted to straighten out.
If I can remember saying, now, throughout the day, I say,
Write yourself a note.
I have to have put it on the ceiling.
Write myself a note and stick it on the bedside.
Yeah.
By my phone.
Have a good week, lady.
I didn't know you did that song.
I do it. In fact, I'm not going to fix it out here, but it's I thought about it the other day.
You did.
Yeah. When I was singing, I didn't feel like singing for whatever.
Sting. I feel like Sting.
Well, that's not a bad way to be. Yeah, I felt really good.
Yes, I can, but you don't want to hear it.
I'm just wondering why we don't use it anyway. She was pretty good.
Well, I was going to suggest it, but you all are reading something.